bloggers here at Milk Studios in NYC to give you a look at some of the highlights from our IFB conference.
What is something that you would look for as a brand when being approached or reaching out to a blogger for a sponsored post?
There are about 3 general things that every brand is looking for. It's flexibility, credibility, and scalability. Scalability, we're looking to see what kind of demographic you're reaching and how many of them you're reaching. Credibility, we want to make sure that your content is on brand with ours. So fashion, beauty, it really reaches the same type of demographic, and really that's our demographic. We're trying to reach women between the ages of 25 and 35 who are real beauty junkies. Flexibility, we are looking for partners because we're a small brand and because we're really looking to collaborate with our partners.
When you're going to do this blog full time, you kind of have to be out there. It's so much easier to market yourself and have a name and a face associated with the brand and with the blog.
I think appearance is everything, right? So that first impression, how do you make a dent? How do you separate yourself? What do you use? Is it a media kit? What do you put in your media kit?
I have like a quick PDF that just has, that's kind of that's on brand and, designed well and just kind of gives you the quick statistics of my site.
My media kit is like, I don't know, I think it's like 10 or 11 pages, and it's a PDF, and it sort of says who I am and who my demographics are and what sort of partnership opportunities are available and things like that.
They get right away what I'm about, what type of audience I represent, the type of things I do. If they watch 5 seconds of a video clip, they get it.
I would say specialize. Find your niche, whatever it is. It might be food. The great thing about TV, there's a million channels. So are you a sporty girl? Are you like a dorky tech person? Are you into fashion? Are you into travel the way I am? Whatever it is, pursue it and pursue it like crazy.
And then right from the get-go, you need to figure out, what your name is going to be and do something that, you can get the URL, you can get the Twitter, you can get the Facebook, you can get everything. And
check it all first.
Check it all and get the Blogspot, the Tumblr, and just blanket it.
How much do you charge for a sponsor post if you do offer that option? And how did you determine that?
My rule is if 3 people will pay it, it's time to raise your price.
I think bloggers shouldn't be afraid to ask for more money because, especially if you have a really targeted blog, you're reaching the audience that they want to get to, and you're, really giving them a service.
Mobile is essential to what we're all trying to do because we all can't be at a desk 24/7.
Do you think you would expand into any other platforms if people got you to start blogging through Twitter?
Tumblr was born of that. The people who follow me on Twitter said it would be so great if we didn't have to click on the links and the pictures were just all there and it would be a permanent library. So I really took that under advisement. I was like, you know what, it's a great idea, and that's why the tagline is when 140 characters isn't enough.
And then on top of that, integrating Instagram across all those platforms and the photos that you're doing really is interesting.
Twitter, sometimes I would just ask a question, instead of like Googling and like searching, why not ask on Twitter? Like, okay guys, where can I find like a nice cafe somewhere, And somebody would like make a recommendation and it's like instantly.
Use Twitter as my sort of like personal assistant. Yeah, personal agent, personal assistant. I mean, it's great interacting with people, with people on Twitter. I mean, I have like 225,000 followers. I mean, they live everywhere in the world. So I love the personal touch and the recommendation, and I loved it.
It's how active you are and what you have to say. Because what's the point of having 1 million followers if they're not actually following what you say?
We try and give this advice to people that when it comes to using Twitter as a way to promote yourself, it's a good idea to attach yourself to events like the Oscars or to live tweeting a certain show like Gossip Girl, because when you use the hashtag is your tool. That is your tool for exposing yourself to a bunch of people who wouldn't know about you otherwise.
Usually on my Twitter, if I actually have to think before I tweet, then I'm not going to tweet that. But if I don't, if I just like tweet spontaneously, yeah.
When it came to now Pinterest, we don't put any of our content in Pinterest. We put everybody else's content there. Like we have the best of bloggers. We theme them by boards, the best brand challenges, the best ad campaigns. And so it's our way of giving back because we just don't have the bandwidth to cover everything that comes through.
And Pinterest is so forgiving in the way that you can stumble and curate content that if you just develop a strategy a little bit later, that's okay. It's still in its infancy, even though everybody's talking.
Even though everybody's talking. It's the new it thing.
Exactly.
definitely think that for me, it was the blog first and was able to kind of then translate it into something that turned into my full-time job. And for the first 2 years of my blog, I was actually doing it in addition to my 9 to 5. So I would come home and basically work another job until about midnight. So I've been blogging full-time for about 2 years and have kind of been able to turn it into kind of what I started as a brand into a business.
What I've always used my blog for was as this idea of the online resume or a calling card that could lead to chances to network, sometimes aggressively, like seeking people out, and sometimes people finding you, and then it's more of like, a secondary follow-up type thing.
My blog has certainly helped. I don't think I would have gotten the opportunities had I not had a blog, and I think everybody here would say the exact same thing.
It's like an online resume, so brands come and see what you can do, get styling gigs, consulting gigs.
Other creative things, like Josh shot a video for Jesse Boykins, a music video. We're also working on more stuff like that. And we're being read by an agent now, so we're getting a lot of jobs, whether commercial deals or whatnot, so all that stuff is coming in.
I think my number one advice to bloggers or anybody trying to take their brand to the next level is just staying original, having a unique content, and at the same time just always being open to new ideas and new ways of presenting your craft or brand.
I think it's all about providing content that is what inspires you, and I think ultimately those collaborations come over time when you garner a certain kind of audience and speak to this kind of niche that, you're tapping into that kind of audience that brands are also looking to connect with.
I think that being honest and authentic is what makes everyone here special, and if you start changing what you would normally do because now you're thinking, oh, this is my online resume, then your blog is going to suffer for that.
I think people should use their personal Twitter feed to not just have this one big love fest with their peers on Twitter, but to have strong opinions, which I hope they already have, and to really be decisive about, what they're into and what they're not into, and develop a strong, signature, authentic, and honest personality and Twitter feed.
You want to work with the brands where you're actually wearing their clothes. You want to work with the food brands that you actually eat. You want to basically put yourself out there as you normally would. Otherwise, people will not take you seriously, and how can you really take yourself seriously? So never be afraid to say no. And at the same time, if you think that something is out of your reach, never be afraid to reach for it.
What was the turning point for you where you realized, okay, this isn't just a hobby or just, a career that I'm trying to get into, this is working for me? What was that turning point, and what are some examples of what you were doing that got you to that point?
I was passionate about making DIY an industry, just like we say fashion, beauty, DIY. I wanted it right up there. So I started approaching brands and saying, hey, why don't we do, instead of just working as a prop stylist behind the scenes, can we start branding P.S. I Made This? And that's really how it started.
We focused solely on content and quality. So there are times when we would take pictures and I just didn't feel it, or the clothes didn't move right. We would just ditch that whole shot and we'll do it again the next day or a couple hours.
And I think the biggest mistake a blogger can make in trying to establish their blog and set the tone of their content is to post just for the sake of posting. And it's so much more important to have really high quality content, things that look beautiful, things that read well. Take the time to edit yourself.
You should be posting at a speed and at a rate and at a quality that you're comfortable with doing, I think. But if you're doing it at a regular, consistent frequency, I think your readers really appreciate that. They don't want to get bombarded with posts and then see nothing for, a day.
And I think a lot of us just kind of have to play that spaghetti game, throw that on the wall and see what falls down, because we don't know. And especially we're at such an interesting time right now where we've got new apps out every day and new platforms and new bloggers, and it's an experimenting time, but experiment with your voice, but at the same time, keep your message on point and don't stray from whoever you are, because you don't want to be everything.
So when you start hearing from readers and realizing, like, oh my God, people are actually paying attention to what I'm saying, and that can be a really weird thing to process, that's when it can really start monetizing and taking a different form as a blog and as a business.
I think that it's important to see what other bloggers are doing. I try not to think of bloggers as competition, because this is such a new environment, it's such a new thing that you get further if you support each other than if you start competing against each other.
Right now we have so many different platforms, from our blogs to our Twitters to our Tumblrs to our Instagrams to our Pinterest. There are so many platforms that we can use to push out our message, our brand, our blogs, which are brands, essentially. And at the end of the day, we're all pushing out different content, and you need to make sure your voice is the same no matter what platform it is.
We did a scarf video, 25 ways to wear a scarf in 4.5 minutes. When we first did it, we were begging our friends to look at it, and we got up to like a few thousand, and we were so happy. And it went viral in Brazil, and it went to 500,000, and then went to 2 million, and then last week it passed 10 million. But that had nothing to do with how many views we wanted when we first set out to do the video. We just wanted 25 cool ways to wear a scarf. But the question that we kept on asking ourselves is, okay, so Wendy, you have ways to wear a scarf. Like, what is the added value? And at first it was 5 ways, and then it was 10 ways, and then we're like, okay, let's shoot for 25 ways. And that's kind of the same rule that we apply to the blog too. Is when we take pictures, and when I'm writing the entries, like, what is the added value? Like, what else can we put more to it that might be different, or that's not available right now in the space? And yeah.
So with that, we'll say thank you guys so much.